Tim Fleiszer won 3 Grey Cups in the Canadian Football League, and now he's the head of the Concussion Legacy Foundation. And Justin Cooper's from Red Deer, spent from 2008 to 2010 as a defensive lineman with the Edmonton Eskimos, won a Vanier Cup with Manitoba. He's a bit of a gridiron great. And I welcome him to the RP show today for a little PR for the Concussion Legacy Foundation. Tim, I'm going to start with you, man. I feel like I'm just a steward here, like a bit of a MC. Would you mind introducing the audience to what we're talking about?
Sure. So the Concussion Legacy Foundation, for those of you who are following sports, you'd know us by the autopsy work that's being done at Boston University on deceased football players and hockey players, having identified the brain disease chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. And so I run the Canadian side of that. And one of the services that we offer is a helpline. And so we wanted to come and talk today. We'll be hosting a poker tournament in advance of the Grey Cup, an online tournament on November 7th, 11th, and 14th at 9 p.m. And it's to raise money for the helpline, but more importantly, to raise awareness. And what my hope is with the Grey Cup approaching, it's a great time for all of us to reach out to former teammates and make sure that everybody's doing okay. Unfortunately, the majority of us are doing fine, but there are some of our teammates that are struggling with brain injury and some of the associated symptoms. And so very, very proud of Justin today, who is willing to come on the show and tell his story.
Yeah, as am I. Justin, welcome to the Rod Pedersen Show. It was a treat to broadcast your games in Edmonton for those seasons. And Tim, wanted to bring you on because it's a good story. We've heard so many not good stories, Justin. So thanks for being part of the show today, and tell us what's yours.
Sure. Yeah, I know. I appreciate the opportunity to do this. So I mean, hey, look, I played a bunch of football my life. I got into it a little late. I started high school, grade 10. Normally, guys will start peewees or bantams, but got into it late. Just a farm kid in central Alberta, so sports and that sort of thing was just not as prevalent as it could have been if I was in the city. But so anyway, I got a pretty good feel for the game in grade 10 and going forward, and then had some early success and fell in love with the game. Did some junior football in Edmonton for the Edmonton Huskies, and again had some success. Moved on and played. I got a scholarship with we won a Canadian Bowl there with the Huskies in 2004. Moved on, got a scholarship with the Manitoba Bisons, and we also won a Vanier Cup in 2007. Had some pretty good success there as well, and ended up being drafted to the Edmonton Eskimos, the Elks, in 2008. Yeah, now that was about a three and a bit year career professionally. Unfortunately, lower body injuries and some concussion symptoms sort of made me second guess my future with football, and I cut my career short. But the way to it, I suppose, is. I mean, I received many concussions, and I don't even know what the definition of a concussion is. But I mean, if you're blackout, I've definitely been around 10 for sure. And if it counts as seeing stars, maybe hundreds, if not thousands. So I mean, damn near every rep on the line, you're making some kind of head contact. So anyway. I fell in love with the game. I loved it. I loved the violence of the game. I loved the camaraderie. You don't think of these things when you're playing. It's almost for the first few years of my career, I never did receive any concussions, and I was starting to wonder, like, what the heck, man? Like, what's wrong with me? I must not be playing hard enough. It's almost idolized or romanticized this idea of you have to get this ding or this concussion, or you're not playing hard enough or something. But anyway, you play long enough, you're going to get them, and got them. I did. So with that, I mean, there's two sides to this. There's the concussion thing with football, and then there's the pain management side, and a lot of times it goes side by each. And for me, it certainly did, especially as I got into the professional ranks. As I started to play a little bit more, and the seriousness of losing your job to the ever-revolving door into that locker room is real every single day. So you'll do whatever it takes to keep your job, and if that means a needle in your ass, some Toradol or some whatever it is, prednisone, Percocets, oxycodone, just to keep yourself on that field, you're going to do it. And a lot of us did. Some of those drugs I mentioned weren't sanctioned by the team, but a lot of them were. Certainly that Toradol and Tramadol, it was given out like candy. And just a little bit of the knowledge I do have, I think there's been some recent, Tim probably can allude on it a little bit more, but I know with Toradol, there's maybe some thoughts about its contribution to concussions, just by way of making your blood thinner. I think there was a study done in 2011 on this. I'm fairly certain I'm correct, but so there's that. There's that component to this concussion deal. Certainly looks like it might have been aided unintentionally, right? You're just trying to treat pain, but the stuff that you're doing had a negative side effect to that concussion part. So then you fork off from that. Now you're starting to get into this pain medication, and you're starting to need it. And you're probably not thinking super clear because you're all concussed and you the whole season. It's probably not the same for everybody, but certainly in my case, I don't even remember much of my pro career just because, I received quite a few concussions. But with the pain medication, that became its own problem, And I remember, I'll tell you this story and then I'll get back onto the concussions. But I think with concussions and traumatic brain injury, I think addiction and some of these other things sort of go hand in hand. So I thought maybe I'd cover that real quick. But you're after the game, I'd go home and I'd review the film and a bottle of Percocet. You take a few of those, you have your bottle of Crown Royal with you. You're drinking that. You're on prednisone because you just blown up your Achilles tendon there 4 or 5 games ago, and you're still playing on that. Now you're not quite feeling real good yet. So now, you add some oxycodones. You take 20 mils of that, and now you're feeling pretty good. You're in a good place to watch your review your film, so you know what you're getting into the next morning when you go for your team meeting. But so I did that, and I would do this often. But the one night I remember I was sleeping with my sister. I was staying with my sister at the time in Edmonton, and I definitely overdone her. My heart was slowing down to a spot where I was actually quite scared, and it was beating quite hard. So what I did is I just went downstairs and I hid, I guess, in the basement. But that was the first time in a long time I prayed, and I'll tell you, I said to God, I said, if I wake up tomorrow, I'll stop this. I'll stop it right away. And so that's what I said to him. But he let me have it for a little bit longer. I started to actually hallucinate in that bedroom. I started to see orange and hearing things that obviously weren't there, and it was a fairly scary moment for me. I was still with it enough to know that this wasn't real, but something was seriously wrong with what was going on in my head. So anyway, I woke up the next morning. Obviously, we're here talking, but I had that little come to Jesus moment in my life, and I stopped. I stopped the pills anyway that day. But I guess where I wanted to go with that was just say, like, I know for a fact that there's people that are struggling with this, and you got to stop, man. Like it'll ruin your life. I had a couple good friends, that one in particular that played football. He was a fairly significant, high profile guy. It took him down a path where I'm sure he didn't want to go. However, he's made good on his deal right now. He's doing, I won't name names, but he's doing really good for himself, and he's trying to help people, as Tim is trying to help right now as well, and just me trying to help by sharing my story. So I mean that happened, and then now that was a significant part of my professional career was drugs, pain medication in particular, and alcohol for sure. I mean, Tim, I mean, the pain that you're in, that you live in, is just, you can't explain this to people. They don't understand what that constant pain is. I mean, it's incredible, really. I sit back and I can't believe I put myself through it, but it's an excuse, but that's what it was. That's why so many people get on this stuff, is because it's unbearable. But
well, I want to say, Justin, kudos to you, by the way, for showing the courage to talk about it and do it. Tim, where does the Concussion Legacy Foundation come into this? Did Justin call you guys, or where do you fit into this?
Yeah, so and unfortunately, we see a number of these scenarios, and an important part of this story is it was Justin's teammates that helped connect him with me, and we were able to connect him with the medical care that he needed, and specifically Patrick Kabongo and Graham Bell. Pat Kabongo, a longtime teammate of mine, really good friend, knew the work that I was doing with the foundation, knew this is a service that we offer, and was able to connect me with Justin. We were able to get him the medical help that he needed, and it seems like today Justin's doing great. And I think what's really important about this story is, for those guys that are out there suffering, and Justin said it, we know those guys are out there. And coming into the Grey Cup, which is a time where a lot of us reconnect with our former teammates, we've created this poker event. It was one of the things that we did a lot when we were players, was sit around and play cards. Specifically that 07 Riders team. We used to have a weekly poker game, and so got a number of those guys playing there with me in this online tournament that's coming up. Andy Fantuz, Luke Mullender, Chris Getzlaff, and Davis Sanchez and Richie Leone are joining as well. And a big part of us doing this is trying to find those guys, ask them to come out and play with us. But it's a check-in. How are you doing? Is everything okay? And if somebody's not doing okay, if somebody's experiencing something that's similar to Justin, whether that be cognitive issues, whether that be substance abuse, whether that be mental health issues, all of those are potentially symptoms of brain injury. And so that helpline, if anybody out there needs help, it's concussionfoundation.ca/helpline. And you go in, you fill out the form. A lot of times you need a caregiver, because asking somebody who's neurologically impaired to self-report is a terrible strategy. It's like asking somebody who's had too much to drink whether they're okay to drive. A lot of times it takes that teammate, like Pat and Graham did for Justin, to get them in touch with the help that they need. And from there, we've resolved 5,000 inquiries, and this service is available all across North America. It's not just for Canadians. We help guys that are in the U.S. as well, and we've resolved 5,000 inquiries. And so I think the important part of Justin's story, and it's tough to listen to, and it was tough to talk to Justin at that time, and to see somebody who was in a dark place. And I know you know about that as well, Rod. And I'm just so proud of him for having the courage to reach up his hand and take the help that was offered. And just want people to know there can be a happy ending to this story, and make sure that people know that in the darkest days that there is hope. And so I'm proud of Justin for having come on today and shared his story.
As am I. Huge balls, Justin, for you to do that. Again, bravo. You had a message for somebody that's still struggling, football players. Can you say it again? Can you say that again to people that were in your shoes, that they don't have to stay there?
Yeah, I mean, like Tim nailed it. There's help, right? There's just help. You're not going to be able to necessarily self-diagnose, so hopefully you've got a sphere of support group that are around you that cares about you, loves you, of course, and really listen to what they're telling you. Don't blow it off. Like, I mean, I sort of did that with my wife Deanna, who I love dearly, but you know, she talked to me and mentioned, like, hey, look, you're short tempered, you're this, this, and you blow it off, but you can't, man. You gotta listen to it and take the words for what they are, and do something about it. I mean, there's so many things for me, like for people with head injury, like hormones are they're affected. I was, by the grace of God, introduced to Tim, who set me up with some specialists in Calgary. It turns out I have pituitary gland damage. I don't produce human growth hormone anymore. It was as simple as replacing that hormone in my body, and that made an immense difference in my life. So there are solutions. They're not overly complicated. They're not this daunting thing. It's just you got to do it. You got to start.
I apologize for chuckling as you talk, as I'm like, no, they're not major things. They're little tweaks. They're just to get you sent the right way. You know what I mean? Yeah. And when you're talking about being irritable with your wife, I'm like, bing, depression. We can fix that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, absolutely. Tim, again, how can players get in touch with you guys?
concussionfoundation.ca/helpline. And, you know, one of the things, having played on 5 teams in 10 years, a lot of guys have my cell number. And so, again, if you know anybody, know any of your teammates, and look, this is not just an issue for professional football players. This is an issue for anybody who served in the military. This is an issue for survivors of accidents and violence. This is an issue for anybody who's been exposed to repetitive head injury. And so for anybody who, like Justin, is in a bad place, we're here. We've got a really good track record of being able to help, and we'll do whatever we can to get you the help that you need.
Awesome job, guys. Tim, you're God sent. Thanks for lining us up with Justin. Justin, keep going, and enjoy the football this weekend, guys. Keep in touch.
Thank you, Rod.
Thank you very much.
Great job. See you, Justin.